Two heads, one metabolism. The shocking science behind Dicephalus. Imagine one heart trying to please two picky bosses. Every beat has to get a thumbs up from two separate brains before it can speed up or slow down. Sounds impossible, right? Welcome to Dicephalus twins. Two heads, one body, one shared metabolism, and a biological riddle that still makes embryologists mutter, how in the world? Dicephalus is the rarest twist of conjoined twinning. You get two complete heads, each with its own quirks, memories, and favorite pizza topping, riding on a single torso with one heart, one liver, one stomach, and just one chemical budget to run it all. How does that even work? We have to rewind to the first fortnight after fertilization, back when the embryo's still a flat disc, and left or right is still up for grabs. One mistimed molecular text message and whoops, the discs fuse instead of splitting. The result? One body trying to juggle blood pressure, hunger pangs, and bad jokes coming from two independent command centers that can't walk out on each other. Today we're cracking open the biology that lets this impossible duet keep singing. The split that never quite happened. Every embryo kicks off as a tiny disc. Around day 14, the primitive streak shows up like a pushy foreman shouting, "Cells, over here." In Dicephalus embryos, the streak forms just fine, but the disc only cleaves part way. Instead of two separate embryos, you get two neural plates time-sharing one yolk sac and one circulation. Scientists call this half-finished split interaction aplasia. Fancy words for they were so close they actually shut down the parts that should push them apart. Picture two architects who start building two houses on one foundation. They finally shrug and give the place two front doors but only one living room. That's basically how two heads end up on one torso. The event is so rare the stats bounce between 1 in a million and 1 in 200,000 live births, and most of the time the shared heart can't keep both systems going, so most cases are stillborn. One metabolism, two CEOs. Here's the first jaw drop. They literally share the same blood. One heart, one aorta, one liver, one pancreas. Translation: the post-lunch sugar rush slams into both brains at once, yet each head can feel hungry or full on its own clock. Brain scans reveal two separate hypothalami, the appetite thermostats, sitting side by side like rival roommates arguing over the AC. How do they settle the fight? They bargain. EEG recordings show both brains firing alpha and beta wave bursts that sync up whenever the body needs to do something coordinated, say, standing up. Think of two generals sharing the same army. When they agree, the march is smooth. When they don't, you get that awkward stutter step. After years of practice, they read each other so well that to outsiders the motion looks seamless. Dual spinal cords, one pelvis. Each head drops its own spinal cord through the foramen magnum, but below the sixth neck bone, the cords fuse into one neural tube threading a single backbone. Biologically, it's a rush hour on-ramp where two highways merge into one. Motor neurons from both brains shake hands in the front horn of the spinal cord. Researchers looking at preserved specimens found the crossover so tangled that a single thigh muscle can receive orders from both brains. Sensory signals run the other way. Poke the left foot, and the action potential splits and races up both cords at once. That shared feedback loop is why dicephalic twins can ride a bike. Each brain feels the pedals and tweaks pressure without a spoken word. Hormone loops on steroids. With one thyroid and one adrenal medulla, stress hormones like cortisol spike through both bloodstreams at the same moment. Yet each head can process that stress differently. One twin stays zen while the other hits full fight or flight. The body solves the contradiction by letting the more hyperactive nervous response win. Heart rate rises or falls to match whichever brain is currently louder. In the lab, a tiny shot of epinephrine caused a bigger heart rate jump when the more anxious twins' EEG showed higher beta power. Essentially, the body becomes a democracy where the shoutiest neural vote carries the day. The gut-brain axis, ×2. The twins share one stomach and gut, but each head owns its own vagus nerve. That means every stretch of the stomach wall triggers two separate dorsal motor nuclei in two separate brainstems. Researchers discovered that if one twin hates broccoli, the stomach still stretches the same way, but the shared enteric nervous system learns to slow gut motility to keep the nausea signals low if that twin's vagus fires harder. Over years, this creates subtle food preferences that the twins call shared but weighted. Both feel full, but the one whose Vegas fired last gets the louder vote on what's for dinner. Reproduction and longevity. They've got one uterus and one set of ovaries or testes, depending on the genetic setup. Puberty piles on a fresh layer of chaos. One surge of luteinizing hormone triggers ovulation, yet both brains endure the premenstrual grumpies. Fertility is possible. There's a documented case of a Dicephalus woman who carried a pregnancy to term, and because the placenta taps into the shared circulation, both brains register the hormonal tidal wave of pregnancy. Lifespan hinges on how well the lone heart copes with the doubled neural load. In cases with minimal organ sharing, say, two hearts partly fused, surviving to adulthood is common. When one heart must do all the work, congestive failure usually shows up by the third decade. Dicephalus twins are the improbable victory of biology over chaos. One tiny embryonic slip-up builds a body that must run on one metabolism while answering to two sovereign brains. From fused spinal cords to negotiated hormone surges, every heartbeat is a live demo of evolutionary compromise. We started with, how can two minds run one body? And the answer is a masterclass in neural democracy and shared chemistry.